go for it. Hampton Bays, Southampton shores, rocking my troubles away. I talk to Gianna, Vulpi, Mr. McCuty, rocking my troubles away.
From a giant tin box in Sagapana, keeping the property values down, this is AirHamptons. I'm Bill McCuty. That's Jim Turner, our one-man band. He never sings, but this time he just couldn't help himself. He may entertain you. This is the month of May, and I'm sitting as I always am, or not always, but often am, with Gianna Vulpi. Gianna from WLIW-FM, which very proudly broadcasts this show along with LTV. Nicely done, Jim Turner. He is all about love, and he's all about entertainment, and this
he's got
is
beautiful blue eyes, which
He
I
does.
didn't notice until just. It's not pretty when you do.
If you're listening to this
That's
on
terrifying.
WLIW, you'll have to take our word for that.
Yeah, it
Another
was
thing you'll
scary.
have to take our word for is it's spring. It's
It
the month of
is.
May.
Yes.
And so far, we're going to talk about some artwork at Ma's house a little later in the show.
Oh,
Great
yes.
place. But some of the most striking artwork on this show today is on your arm. And
Yes,
for those
for
listening,
for those
we have-
listening,
and the medium is, I'm going to say,
it's
magic marker.
Bic tattoo markers, which the distinction is important because it keeps the art fresher for longer, but not forever, which is very nice, especially when you're teaching,
So it looks
kids.
like Mark Rothko threw up
Yeah.
on your arm. But
Oh,
what
yeah.
really happened was your daughter or son or was this your
It's my
husband's
daughter.
work?
Johnny is just starting to, I'm just being able to give him markers, but it's like he'll go scribble, 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 and then in the mouth. So we're teetling into.
I still do that to this
land.
day. That's wrong. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
So
Don't do
have we
that.
talked about the fact that your child, you are Gianna and he is Johnny?
Oh yes. So my son is, he came very close to naming him Osprey, but we were like, you know what? I feel like, people just can't handle that kind of cool. I was gonna name him Osprey Wild.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision there.
And my mom said they would call him Bird Brain.
Well, we do anything for love, don't we?
Yes.
And that is another guest today. Welcome to AirHamptons. I am very proud and
great
happy.
10cc song.
I'm not in
The
love.
Things We Do for Love.
Oh, the things we do for love.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, how's your May going so far?
It's wonderful.
Except for the coloring on the arm.
It's a difficult moment to be an American, but I choose joy. Joy is resistance.
Okay. It is. We are teeing up the summer movies coming. Some big blockbusters coming, and a little later on in the show, we're going to meet the people behind the Southampton Playhouse,
Yes, I've met
which
them.
finally opened. I know you do. You're
They're
like
lovely.
their neighbor.
Yes.
Your WLIW-FM must borrow cups of popcorn from them, or just go over and.
I think that I went in there and the people, they gave me 5 things of popcorn to bring home to the kids.
Are they
I
good?
walked
Are you
out.
good neighbors? Are they good neighbors?
Well, we are excellent neighbors.
Have they
I
played
know
anything
that.
so loud in IMAX that it has
No. No,
They had
we're
that-
very respectful thus far.
Well, I mean, if you could hear it, if the
No,
rumbling
I
came
haven't
over-
heard it. Well, then again, you'd have to ask the night guy. You'd have to ask Ed German.
Okay, so as
because,
far as
I
you
mean,
know,
in the
they've
morning-
been playing nicely in the same Hill
Yeah.
Street sandbox.
Yes. Yeah. And I was there. Tripp was there from Tripoli Gallery, and he was saying that maybe there will be a mural on the building in the future. We're not sure. But that's the scuttlebutt I'm hearing.
Well, it's a beautiful facility. I've
Yes.
been a big fan of the Sag Harbor Theater, which got
Yes.
a major makeover a couple of years back. But now we have an
I mean,
IMAX.
oh yeah.
We've got that's
Huge
literally
news,
huge.
especially for families.
Also, this summer, Canoe Place has a concert series with Amy Mann.
Dude.
Have you talked to Amy Mann?
I would love to talk to Amy Mann. I
can
see
make
Ruf.
that happen.
I have talked to Rufus Wainwright. He's
coming.
He's my favorite vocalist.
The
hands
Gypsy
down.
Kings, all kinds of great entertainment coming to
Mountain
them
Goats,
this summer.
Guster. I want
Yeah.
to see that show.
Yeah. and comedian
And
Mark
so-
Norman, and
yes.
some other comics that are going to be announced a little later on. So that's exciting. We also had Hooters file for bankruptcy.
Oh, that
Last month,
surprises
which was sad.
not anyone.
Did you know there are still 400 of those open and
I
operating?
do believe that.
In 2025?
And fun fact, there at least was, when I went to college in Missouri, there was like a knockoff called Show Me's for the Show Me state.
Oh my God.
But instead of the
I
peach
thought it was embarrassing
emoji,
that
there
Hooters
was
was
another
still open, but Show Me's.
part that was focused on. But, I feel like, vibe shifts. The market moves where it does.
All right, then finally, before we bring our first guest on, James W. Banks is known as Dr. Love. We're going to talk
Yes.
about modern romance because it's spring and love is in the air, theoretically.
And I mean, dating is changing in this world.
Did you see last month, and it was on April 1st, so I thought it was April Fool's, there is now a breast milk ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Did you
God!
hear about
Wait
that?
a minute, no, but
Which
I
I
feel
thought
like
was an
I
April
feel
Fool's
like I
joke.
had a conversation with someone recently, in which, oh no, I don't think so, but I believe that.
Well, I'm telling you,
I
it's
think
true.
it's something
You
I
can
saw.
believe it because it is in fact true. But I can't believe that first. And as a new mother, I just wondered if you were at all offended by that. But also, where do they get
You
that?
know how hard it is to make a buck these days, Bill McCuty? If you got something extra that you can sell, good for you.
Okay, fine.
You know?
Fine. And
It's tough these
the
days.
two scoops jokes kind of write themselves.
Yeah,
but
that's
where
true.
are they getting this?
I mean, some
Without getting too technical, did
some
you have any to
people-
spare?
Some people, I was not blessed in that way. Although, actually, the second time around when I was more adept, I did have some to spare and
Surplus.
was able to, freeze. Yeah, this is a
And
thing.
did you look at it ever and go, man, this would be a business?
Oh, hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, she's right. Anything you can do to make a dollar these days.
Well, not anything. It depends on what you're,
How's the?
Not
I think
anything.
that crosses a line. I'm sorry, I
Well,
just do. Tell me about how's it going at the home?
It's very,
How
it's
are-
very good. There's
how's
a lot of
Mr.
great
Every-
nutrients and vitamins.
No, I mean, how's your relationship going?
Oh.
Is love in the air at the Vulpi house?
Yes, we just had lunch at Berryville General.
Okay.
By the
Is that a
time you're
particularly
hearing,
romantic spot?
you're hearing this, it's right down the road from WLIW-FM, and I had a wonderful wrap there, and a juice, and the staff is lovely, and our dog
Okay, this
Harper
has
is with
kickback
us.
written all over it. Are you,
I'm just.
did you pay for this wrap?
No, yes, of course I
Okay,
did.
fine, all right.
Yes, it
Well,
it did cost a pretty penny. So for me, this is a maybe once a month place, but that's my budget, and I'm not.
But the romance is still, the spring is in the air in the Vulpi house.
Yes.
Okay, the reason I ask is because
Yes.
James W. Banks is known as Dr. Love. He has a very vibrant,
He's also the chair of the Southampton Anti-Bias Task Force.
yes, he's very, very busy, but he's here today, and we're lucky to have him. Dr. Love, welcome to AirHamptons.
Pleased to be here.
Can
what
you-
an amazing conversation we had prior.
Oh, well, I will bring that to a dead halt, trust me. I can't, can you believe this is a show? We're as amazed as you are, but thank you for being here. So how is it different? How is finding love different in this day and age than it was 20 or 30 or 40 years ago?
Well, in current times, people put a lot of energy into finding love in a lot of different places, and particularly using social media.
Right.
And the apps.
And the apps, and before there used to be a lot more people being advised.
You're getting a call right
Yeah,
now
I'm getting
from
a call.
someone who desperately needs
I apologize.
love advice. Take that, make it a lot. No, I'm kidding.
Turn it off.
Are you on call? Is Dr. Love on call 24/7?
I am on call. And why I'm on call is because I also work at Suffolk County Community College as the college-wide coordinator of multicultural affairs. But my private practice is where I do the private counseling and work with couples and relationships. And I could mention a number of different organizations that I'm involved with, like the African American Educational and Cultural Festival at Riverhead,
I was gonna
and
mention.
the NAACP, as is indicated on my hat. I like to wear this hat, especially during these times, because we just lost Hazel Dukes, who was the panacea when it comes to popular people who have been involved in the NAACP.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, and she just passed away, and there's celebrations all over the NAACP responding to it, because a lot of people love her.
Well.
Speaking of love, we can transition back to the conversation. Okay.
But even going back to Dr. King and the movement and
Right.
everything has been about love and spirituality and finding a peaceful solution to things. But there's a lot of warfare in couples. There's
There
a lot
sure
going
is.
on. Have you ever gotten a phone call from a bad date where somebody's saying, oh man, this is just not doing it. What do I do with this guy?
Yes, frequently. Sometimes they
Was it
can
my
be
wife?
on the date. No, it wasn't your wife. She said she'd call me next week.
I'll do the jokes.
Yeah, okay. All right, you got him.
Please, I'm kidding.
Okay. Yes, I have. And the thing that happens when someone is on a bad date or is uncomfortable with the person that they're with, they don't know how to get out of it or how to manage it. So oftentimes they will wait till the date is over and experience all of the discomfort and then call, or then get in touch or talk to their family members. Some people nowadays are
Married,
even,
and then it's too late.
yeah.
Don't get married.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you said everything was good at your house, at the Vulpi house.
Well, you put me on the spot.
Some people even bringing their associates and their therapists and their parents with them on first dates.
Really?
And you know what?
How'd that go?
Being happy and getting married are two different things.
Well, they can be. Okay, so the biggest difference, as we started the conversation, the biggest difference is now there's social media.
Yes.
Is it okay to break up on social media? Is it okay to send somebody a text and say this is over?
Most people would say no to that because it offends the person receiving that kind of call, unless it was an agreed upon by both people type of operation. But most people would say no because it's offensive, it's not as loving as it could be. Face to face. A lot of our interaction with people happens in the eye contact and the body language that associates us with each other when we're together.
Yeah. Although I would say that sometimes yes. Sometimes why with vowels. Sometimes yes. Like for example, if you're feeling unsafe,
Oh, right.
right?
No,
Or
100%.
it's also tough because like with the dating apps, like you can go out on a first date with someone and then what, you're gonna go out again to say no thank you?
Okay, actually, I consulted my 25-year-old daughter who's single and living in Manhattan, and she said it's more this day and age in her age range, it's wrong to just send somebody a note to break up.
Right.
But it's not as they
But
don't
this is
consider.
like if you're coupled up.
Okay, right.
Yes.
That's a difference.
There's
But
a
you know what she
difference.
did say?
Yes.
Ghosting is acceptable.
Woo.
That's
That's
become
totally-
the thing for that
That's so interesting. Yeah.
that age group to just go, I just won't engage anymore. And someone made an interesting statement the other day. They said, if you're breaking up with somebody, there isn't any love. And the best thing you can do is move on and not think about that person.
Yeah.
Is that bad advice?
Well, I don't know that that's absolutely true, that there isn't any love when a person breaks up, because often people
Right.
might break up because of a uncomfortable circumstance, some unhappy making behaviors occurred.
Or just
However,
like-
they still love them.
Or it's just like I love you as a person, but you're not for me. It's definitely a case by case basis, I'd say.
Well, that's the point. When we talk about these kinds of things, we often have to approach it from an individualistic type of position rather than a generalization, because there's no one answer that will apply to all circumstances.
What's the biggest problem right now in dating? Or in relationships?
I think the biggest problem in dating and in relationships right now is people not being able to be spend time with each other, not having the kind of relationships that they want, because
Right.
many couples are out working, both partners are out working, they're not really there for each other in the
Preach.
ways that they used to be historically. So I think that the biggest problem is not being able to connect, all right, personally by spending time and associating
That's what's going on in
relationships.
my relationship. The
Are
biggest.
you looking at your phone
I'm
all the
just-
time?
No, it's
Is-
because
is Mr.
it's
Vulpi
because
looking at his phone all the time?
It's because we have two beautiful children,
Well,
and
sure.
so because of that, sometimes I'll need to work in the morning, and he'll need to work at night.
Right.
And so when do we have time for one another except 10 o'clock at night when the kids are asleep?
There's somebody
and
with
we're
the children
both-
right now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and we're both exhausted.
They're not in the car.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
On
But
Industrial
this is-
Park Road, I'd
this
like
is what
somebody
I-
to do a
this
drive-by,
is what I-
please.
this
We're
is-
on Industrial, oh, not just Industrial.
This is what I mean, though, and I believe that.
Yeah.
And it's very hard.
Yeah, it is difficult. And relationally, people have complained often to me about the fact that they aren't able to spend the kind of time that they think they're supposed to in order to have a
you
really
gotta keep-
nurturing relationship.
and you
But
gotta
that's
keep-
been going on for hundreds and thousands of years. I mean, Adam and Eve didn't spend enough time together. I mean,
Right.
like, I just feel like in this age where we have all this ability to
They
communicate,
or did they spend too much time with each other? Because
well,
that can be a problem,
the
too.
produce was really the problem for them. But like, what I feel is that we have so many ways we can communicate, and it shouldn't break down. We should be better informed. When you said go on a first date with someone, you should know everything about that person in this day and age before you've done the background search, you've Googled them, you've done everything, and it still doesn't help.
Sometimes it slips. Sometimes people slip through the cracks. There have been
How
experiences.
do you think I got this job as host?
There have been experiences for me personally with the dating apps in particular where I realized like I cannot meet someone this way, even though it's very popular and there's a lot of, potential there. I had to end up meeting someone the old-fashioned way, as they might say.
JamesWBanks.com is the way to get a hold of this gentleman. He is Dr. Love, practicing in Patchogue here on the island. What's the most elegant way to be unloved? What's the best way to break up?
Oh.
If you know it's over, what do you do?
I think that all relationships, in order to sustain them or end them, ought to have some really elegant dialogue. People need to sit down and talk about the pros and cons of what has happened in a relationship, even if there is a time when you feel uncomfortable with each other. The scary thing about that, though, again, when you talked about being unsafe, if it's an unsafe situation, you can't be going and having dialogues with people.
And that's like, that
Right.
can get you trapped into something that's not good.
This
or
is
keep
true.
you in a relationship that's
This
not
is
good.
true, but all throughout relationships, the more often there is interpersonal communication where there's contact between the couple, and they are able to talk things through and learn how to deal with things from, rather than a first alternative or a second alternative, a third alternative, which is a we way of handling it as opposed to your way or my way. I think that when you think about that, people generally have hierarchical things that they do in relationships because it came from the old country. The king told the queen what to do. The queen told the
God, I miss those days.
The nobles. So
It doesn't work that way
And
anymore.
unfortunately, today, those kinds of experiences don't necessarily work. We need to be thinking about working collaboratively and cooperatively. And I'm adamant about telling people that they need to raise their children that way too. Get the children invested in making the decisions in the household so that when they leave the household, they have the skills and the ability to handle it in a way that would be appropriate and would bring about the returns that they're after.
It's
But
great, too,
people-
because it builds up their confidence.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I see it at the college all the time. I teach several classes there from over the course of 30 years. And I see so often young people don't know what to do or how to handle things or even how to talk about things. So going back to your original premise, we do need to talk. We need to have some kind of communication with everyone from the day that they come onto this planet to the day that you depart from them. And that kind of communication would be likely to bring about an ending that would be much more palatable for both people.
Well, I'm a commitment phobe, so I'm going to call you Dr. Like. But
Okay.
I've enjoyed the time we've had. And how about a love song to play him out?
Yeah, okay.
James W. Banks is Dr. Love, jameswbanks.com, and come back anytime, sir. It was just a
Glad to come
pleasure.
back. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
So your relationship is going to survive?
I mean, you gotta hope,
Dr. Love,
right? You work from, you take it one day at a time.
Do you chat a lot?
so much.
What, Brian and I?
Yeah, no, you,
Yes.
I love
Mr.
you
V.
so much.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we're it's like every day,
Do you have a date
try
night?
to build. Well, we need a date night. We really do.
Yeah, that structure is for, it's
We need more space. I'm about we need to prioritize.
Dr. Love,
yes,
Us.
Jim Turner singing about love, and we love it when
love you so.
nice that Jim Turner is our one-man
Don't
band.
kiss him on the first date, though.
Now we're going to pivot to we're going to learn a little about what's going on at Ma's house. We're going to have a little culture. We're going to do a
Oh,
little.
my God.
We're going to get some art in here.
Okay, warning, impending, excitement. I was very lucky. Brianna Hernandez hosted me at Ma's house to experience the first literature project up close and personal with their VR machine, to see the work that Winnie-Tu Tarrant and Becky Genia did with Christian Scheider. Am I saying his name right, Bray?
Brianna
It
Hernandez,
was-
welcome. You are the director of curation at Ma's house, which is a not-for-profit, I'm assuming.
Very special space on the Shinnecock territory.
Can you explain what she was talking about with this VR? And
So,
welcome
you
to the
know,
show, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
So we have lost some of the Algonquin language over time. Oh, but you talk, Bray.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So our current exhibition, First Literature Project, is an amazing collaboration that Shinnecock linguist Winnie-Tu Tarrant has done with filmmaker Christian Scheider. And they've taken the process of language revitalization that Winnie-Tu and other Shinnecock members have been going through and put it into this amazing immersive film we have playing on a VR headset, or there's a few headsets if you stop by for a tour. And it takes you to Sugarloaf Hill, which is an incredibly sacred burial site in the Shinnecock Hills, and you hear Winnie-Tu telling a story that her grandmother wrote, and you hear it in the Shinnecock dialect of Algonquin, which is an incredible experience for folks on the reservation as well as the general public, because this is the first language of this area. I mean, there's many dialects of Algonquin, but to have Shinnecock folks engaging with relearning and speaking and sharing and particularly storytelling with the language is really special. And so that's how they've set it up through the headset. It really gives you that experience of sitting across from a storyteller, which is such an important cultural aspect within the Shinnecock community. And so we're incredibly delighted to have it at Ma's house now. It originally
On the reservation, we
Yes.
should tell people. And this is a mixed media, obviously, venue, because this is very unusual. But you have paintings and you have drawings and you have other kinds of art on display as well.
Yeah,
And they host artists. Their residency program is unbelievable.
Yeah, we host artists all year and artists from all over. And we have exhibitions running throughout the year for 3 months at a time. And it really ranges. Sometimes we have paintings, sometimes sculpture, sometimes VR, film. And we try to mix it up to really celebrate a cultural exchange with both folks coming to Shinnecock for their experience either as an exhibiting artist or as an artist in residence, but also what they learn about being on Shinnecock. It was a dream. Ma is the nickname for Loretta Silva, which our founder Jeremy Dennis is his grandmother, and it was her dream that the family home would become a museum to celebrate Shinnecock culture, and so it really has done that in many ways, and in particular with this current show. And it's special to have it here now because it debuted at Guildhall last year. Christian and Winnie-Tu had been doing a 2-year long program through their community artist in residence. and really built up a lot.
So you can live at Guildhall the way you can live at the, no.
There is a residency there, but this was a separate program.
But to be clear, Ma's House has a space where artists can live in
Yes,
residence while
yes.
they're creating this stuff, and then it gets shown.
Yeah, we have the front of the house is the gallery space and our little gift shop, and where we have public programs. And then the back of the house, because it's a lot of those Long Island split level style, is where our residents live. And so most folks come for about 2 weeks. Some people come a little bit less. Some people come a little bit more. But we've had folks from San Francisco, from the Southwest, from a lot of folks from the city, and they come and live at Ma's house. They work there. We don't have any requirements of them while they're there. It's really the time for them to do what they need to do. The only thing we ask is that they do some form of public community engagement. So it can be as simple as an open studio where folks in the community can come and see what they're working on, or that they want to do a presentation or public performance to celebrate, something that they've been developing, then we'll host that and, let people know to come out and celebrate and support the artists that we're hosting.
And Ma wanted it to be for the Indigenous community, but it's for everybody, right?
So
Yeah.
Ma really wanted to celebrate Shinnecock culture, but she was also a woman who hosted people, both extended family and the broader community. Her home was always the place that people gathered and had this exchange. She would host this kind of smaller version of powwow out on the lawn in front of the house when there wasn't something formal going on, and really encourage people to come and share with each other. So this is really a celebration of all of that, which is truly special to see how it's grown. We're about 3 years old, 3.5 years old now, and I feel like we've come a long way already.
And the first literature it's really a cool experience. And I loved what you were telling me about the fact that in trying to reclaim the language and uncover it or recover it, that the Bible has actually become an important document because
The Bible, not their Bible,
because
not a Bible.
okay, so
Yes.
the Bibles that were used at one time in order to convert Shinnecock people once upon a time to Christianity, they're now able to use that to, uncover the language again.
Yeah, it's an incredible tool that you would not expect to be part of this story of reclaiming,
Yeah.
where in order to solidify that process of conversion, so what do? You translate the Bible, and when you translate the Bible, you translate all of these words from that specific dialect. And so there's been a reverse translation process that has really been a big part of that. So there's a lot of contradictions in there, but it is something that it's grateful to have these documents, because a lot of other documents have been erased.
Lost, yeah.
And so, especially when you think about, traditional storytelling being an oral tradition, it's not necessarily something you would always have written down.
Right.
And so it's a complex process, but one that folks are really embracing, because reclaiming that language is so important. And hopefully soon there will be a bunch of fluent speakers. That's really the goal.
Can we mention the other part of the First Literature Project exhibition, the video that's running in that one room?
Yes. So we have a couple of videos aside from the VR. There's a long series of interviews with Shinnecock tribal members who contributed to the research of the project. And there's also some short films from a group of Shinnecock women. They're a collective called Ayin Katuank, which means she speaks. And they have shown in their own way a process of reclaiming the language by sharing stories with their children and practicing what certain words mean. And so you see with Chelina Smith in one of them, she's showing her daughter how to cook, and in the process explaining what each word means if you were to translate it. Like, okay, now we're going to stir it up, and oh, doesn't it taste good? And you can see both on the TV and we have some printed out documents, a translation into the Shinnecock dialect of what is happening both in English and in Shinnecock. So
If you're just joining us, Brianna Hernandez is the director of curation at something called Ma's House, which is an artistic enclave and has a lot of things that are going on. I'm fascinated by this Algonquin dialect. If I was a child born, let's say 10 years ago on the reservation, would I have spoken that? Would that have been something maybe my grandmother said once at a special holiday, but otherwise was not really known?
It's a bit complicated, and it's not a one size fits all depending on the family, because in addition to the general process of colonization removing elements of language, there were also some folks who were taken to those boarding schools that you hear about in the news, and so a lot of times people would be kind of encouraged to not speak the language, even if they did know some parts still.
Forced assimilation.
Yeah, exactly. Assimilation is a huge part of it. So even if there were folks who knew enough of it to be sharing, it might be something that they would prefer not to, or have mixed feelings about. There is thankfully now a program for the preschoolers where in the morning, as part of their activities, they're like learning small phrases and words, and it starts their day, which is an amazing thing that's happening right now. So those kids are going to grow up, hearing the language.
This is like in the time of slavery.
And it's the Shinnecock dialect of the Algonquin language.
Oh, thank you. I was only going to say that there was a time in this country when a slave would not let anyone know that they could read or write.
Yeah, it's the same
Because
sort
that
of thing.
would be a tantamount to a death sentence. And this is unbelievable history, a great place, and I have to confess I haven't been. If
Gotta come
someone,
visit.
Gotta go visit. What is it, 159 Old
Point Road. And you want to enter through Westgate Road. That's the guest entrance on the reservation.
that's what people don't understand. I think there's a stigma about the reservation about we can't go there unless there's the Palm concert or something that is definitely open to the public. But there is a guest gate.
Yeah.
And you just have to say, I'm going to Ma's house.
Yeah, you'll pull up and say where you're going. It's really just to make sure that people are being respectful. It is a protected space, but we encourage visitors who are showing up with respect. And obviously the main thing that the general public comes to is the annual powwow. But for Ma's house, we are open Thursdays 10 to 5, but also by appointment. And anytime we have an event, like we have our Friday night weekly workshops with beadwork and leatherwork that Denise Silva Dennis runs. So we want people to come out and have that culture exchange that Ma really fostered.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
for having
Brianna
me.
Hernandez, Ma's house, an important, we were showing, for those people watching on television, we were showing the website. The website is
Ma'shouse.studio.
.studio.
Yeah.
Wait, and
Very
how was your residency at Soundview?
It was amazing. It's
What
picturesque.
did you end up creating? What came to the world?
Oh, so I've actually been experimenting with some stained glass, so I was testing out some different
Nice.
designs. It's
Are
still
you new,
early.
Are you new to stained glass?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm an interdisciplinary artist, so for me, I'm always trying new things, and I don't see it as like oh no, I can't do this. I think
You
why
can
not?
do this. Yeah.
Hey, we're all over the place on this show, as you've seen.
We can do
I
this,
didn't know. We need to rehearse.
Do we?
Thank you, Brianna. Let's have a little something Ma would like. I have no idea what that would be, but Jim Turner, our one-man band, always comes up with something.
He keeps giving
Listen, the show is just flying
Do we
by.
need to rehearse?
Rapid.
Or is it
No,
okay?
I like it when we don't rehearse. I was
I like that.
Going to Ma's hat right
We were
now.
talking at the top of the show about
Yes.
the Southampton Playhouse,
Yes.
and we just learned about virtual reality, and the reality of the Southampton Playhouse is it's open. It's been open for a couple of months. It's happening,
Yeah.
and I've been there like a dozen times, so I need some kind of an intervention. But there's now an IMAX theater, and I had the chance recently to sit down with the folks over there.
You want me to say it now?
Yeah, it was
All right,
a-
because you just said you summarized my role cue, Bill.
Maybe we do
All right,
need to rehearse.
here we go. Bill caught up with Maria and Eric the other day to discuss the summer schedule, Brad Pitt dying, and whether or not we will be going to the movie theaters in the future. But first, we wanted to know how it's going 2 months in.
It's been really exciting and really positive.
Well, Eric, everyone's excited that you're here. You've got an IMAX theater in Southampton, the closest one for miles. But from a programming standpoint, as the artistic director, are Hamptons audiences any different than the rest of the country?
Well, I think Hampton's audiences are in some ways reflective of many parts of the country where you have not a lot of cultural resources, and so a movie theater stands out as a crucial one in a very specific landscape. And we love our neighbors, we have some wonderful museums in the area, we have all kinds of incredible music programming and so forth. But in terms of a 7 day a week movie theater, we're the only game in town. And I think what's great about that is that it gives us a constant sense of what audiences want to see. We're really excited that we have lots of families in the area, from Paddington to Snow White, who are showing up on a regular basis, but also people who are willing to take a risk on something different or new, whether that's, a foreign documentary like The Gleaners and I, or the films from 1932 that we showed. And we're seeing a lot of repeat customers as a result of that. So we're really sort of cultivating a community. And I think that what makes this unique is we're very separate from New York City, where people are kind of spoiled by so many different kinds of movie theaters programming different movies on a regular basis. By being the only game in town, I think that we can develop a much more intimate relationship with the audiences at our disposal.
Well, you could also just show the most current releases and do nothing else as the only game in town. And yet you guys have expanded the program pretty significantly there, from showing the Oscars to some of the 1932 films you talked about. What are you looking forward to, or what are the plans for spring and summer?
Yeah, we've got lots of plans. I mean, it's a really exciting moment in the sense that the summer is rich with some major new releases. You have things like Superman and Thunderbolt. And a lot of our repertory programming is going to play off of these films that maybe have a lot of energy around them when they come out, but can also create an opportunity for us to expand audiences' awareness before they come out. In terms of other kinds of films along the lines of what they have to offer. So just to give you a sneak peek, if you look at the fact that we're showing video game movies now in the run up to Minecraft, and apply that logic to some of the other big releases this summer, you can get a sense of the kind of template we're trying to build. So every new movie is sort of a portal to other movies that came before it. And that relationship between the past and present of moviegoing is really important for what we're trying to build.
Maria, what do you think in this day and age keeps people coming back to a movie theater when there's so much they can stream at home?
I think the sense of community, being in the room with others and experiencing the same thing. I think that people miss that. They need it. They want it. We've heard from folks on the ground that it's wonderful to come back, and people that have planned their, night out with friends. We've seen like multiple examples of just that desire to be in the company of others. And I think it's rewarding to just sit in a room and hear the reaction of the very thing you're watching and laughing at the same time with your neighbor. It's really exciting, and it's not something you can do when you're home streaming, although there's room for that as well. Um, it's a unique experience, and it's a communal experience, and it's a I would say a human experience.
Yeah. Listen, I've been a half a dozen times, so I need an intervention, but I love going to the movie theaters. I love some of the concessions you guys are offering. I love that there's a gift shop there with books about movies and actors and directing and producing. So there's something important, I think, happening here in Southampton, and that's great. And I want people to keep coming back. What are some of the things that you guys are looking forward to specifically this summer? I love the fact that you have an IMAX theater, and I don't know. Tell us before we tease people with what's coming, because I'm a huge F1 fan already, and I've only seen the trailer. That's the new Brad Pitt film. What's the process to get IMAX to come to a theater like yours? You have to go through, they have to approve you, right?
It's a ongoing conversation. We have a really healthy relationship with IMAX. I mean, I usually You know, IMAX has almost 2,000 screens internationally, and a lot of what plays in one IMAX will play in all of them. And there's real value in that because it means that you have the full muscle of IMAX pushing not only a national release, but what you have in your community at a specific moment in time. That being said, there's always a lot of back and forth, and we try to figure things out on a case-by-case basis. You know, Maria mentioned Led Zeppelin, which just crossed $10 million as we're speaking at the box office, and we've brought that title back a bunch because it did so well for us. But when it first came along, we had to make sure that we could accommodate it alongside some of the other films that were playing on IMAX at that time. Fortunately, we were able to. So there's always going to be different kinds of conversations about what we can get. We're hoping to bring more music documentaries, other kinds of special releases that get onto IMAX. So not all IMAXs will play the same programming when it comes to these sort of special events. We had as a wonderful audience for Princess Mononoke in IMAX. That is just such a beautiful movie that people have a profound relationship to, and I would guess that a lot who showed up had already seen it, but not on IMAX because it had never been released that way before. So you'll see a lot more of that kind of sort of interplay where, you know, yes, we'll have the big movies that come to IMAX, but we'll also have some really special, unique ones that not everybody is leaning into.
We have a lot of old hippies out here, so the music docs are going to be very popular, I'm sure. What is
And a lot
Thunderbolts?
of Bill, I want to say we got to summer really quickly. I want to not forget to mention Saturday, May 24th is our inaugural summer kickoff fundraiser. So that's important before we roll into the summer months. Let's acknowledge that date as well as an important.
So you guys operate as a 501(c)(3). You're a not-for-profit organization. So
That's
what
right.
goes into doing a fundraiser for the Southampton Playhouse?
Thank you for asking. That's super important for us to talk through. We're basically fundraising for the year-round operational costs of the Playhouse. We'd love to continue with our recent, engagement with the community, with the first responders, in addition to the schools in the neighboring areas. We want to bring opportunities to the synagogues and churches and all of the religious organizations around. We also want to have the ability to collaborate with other cultural organizations on the East End to do maybe a film related to an art exhibit or a musical element of it. We want to be able to give folks something beyond the screen in terms of conversation and just all the rich opportunities that having someone like Eric Cohn on the ground to talk about film criticism or just exploring newfound cinema from international friends and filmmakers. So there's a lot on our radar in terms of what we'd like to do, and so the fundraising aspect of it is really to keep all of these missions, mission-driven objectives going. And not just because it's not just summer months when we get the bustling resort town going, but it's a year-round community at the Southampton Playhouse. So we have to make certain
speaking of missions, we got the Mission Impossible movie coming, and we'll talk about that in a second because there are a couple other things I'm really excited about this summer. But in terms of fundraising, does this mean specifically I can buy a chair and have my name on it, or that corporations can get their logos on the screen before movies are shown?
Absolutely. That's one of our goals, is to have ad space both on our website and on the screen if appropriate. So we haven't gotten there yet. We're also rolling out a membership later on this year, so you stay tuned for that. But for the immediate fundraiser, there are many ways that you can help the Playhouse. Yes, absolutely. There are plaques available on these gorgeous jewel tone cinemas, and your name can be on there, or you can maybe do it in memory of a loved one that introduced you to film. There's that opportunity. There's also just an opportunity to give at whatever level you're able to, and then the fundraiser will have its immediate levels associated with what the benefits are, and we'll be announcing that very shortly. You can look on our website for that information, but in the meantime, save the date for May 24th. And if anyone wants to give, no matter how big or small or big, we're here to receive it. So there are many different ways to be involved.
Yeah,
You
I
can
guess
also buy a hat, as I'm obviously displaying right
you can
now.
buy a hat, you can buy a tote and put your groceries in it. Most of my groceries go into tote bags from film organizations I've supported over the years, so I think that's a worthy investment. I also want to add, we were just featured in a report that came out from Cinema United, which used to be called the National Alliance of Theater Owners, but it was too confusing because they were called NATO and everyone thought they were something else. But they put it, we were the only new theaters.
Trump was going to cancel you, right?
Exactly. But you should check out that report. I'm sure we can get it sent to you. This is a great showcasing of independent theaters around the country, and I think that we sort of, as a nonprofit, epitomize this trend of using that model to create a philanthropic context for supporting movie going as an important part of our culture.
Well,
It's
let's talk
very
about that
hard.
for a second. Then I haven't seen the report, but are
Yeah.
most theaters around the country kind of scared right now? Do they think there won't be theaters in 50 years?
Well, no, I think that honestly, it's one of the more exciting moments because maybe 5 years ago, when the movie theaters in the country had to close and then reopen, it was an alarming existential moment. But what we've seen now is that there's been a generational turnover where there are new audiences going to movie theaters for the first time, and that opens up all kinds of opportunities. Also, there's a realization that building a movie theater is not just building a movie theater, it's building a cultural hub for a community. So, what we embody is something that I think a lot of cinemas around the country are doing, which is trying to create an independent path forward. And by being a nonprofit, you can do that. We are uniquely positioned to be both first run and repertory, but we're more than a movie theater too. We're a place where people can hang out, have a good time, meet people, and benefit from other resources that a nonprofit can bring to a community. So I think that's a really important part of like the trend in a bigger sense of what's supporting exhibition right now is this idea of working to serve the community and structuring your existence around that.
I think everyone is pivoting too to try and find out what audiences really want. And one of the things you've done is created a fourth screening. So there are 4 screening rooms in the facility, and one of them has stadium seating that can be pushed up against the wall, and you can put an orchestra in there and do a soundtrack for a motion picture or have a private function in there. Tell me a little bit about that and what kinds of things you expect to house or put on in that facility.
Yeah, I mean, well, from a programming standpoint, I'm incredibly excited about Theater 4 because it opens up so many other kinds of possibilities, everything from theater and immersive experiences to podcasts and trivia. All the good things that get people out of the house beyond movies themselves can exist in that room, and that includes parties too.
Well, I like the idea that some of the famous, in some cases, Oscar-winning composers out here could actually go into that space, and we could hear a soundtrack someday in the very theater that it was performed in.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier some of the summer stuff. So tell me what Thunderbolts is, because I know that's coming early in May, and that's an IMAX film.
Yeah, I mean, Thunderbolts is the latest Marvel movie. We were very happy to open with Captain America, which is one of the oldest superheroes, and in that respect, kind of helped set the stage for our ability to take on that kind of film. But Thunderbolts is really exciting in the sense that, every couple of years, this franchise needs a bit of a reboot and a refresh. And usually when that happens, it injects some new energy into that universe with some attachment to where it came from. I mean, it's easy to forget that the first Iron Man that really kicked off the MCU is in 2008. So, there are lots of active moviegoers who were born after that date. And this movie, it stars Florence Pugh, and it's got Sebastian Stan, it's got David Harbour, Wyatt Russell. These are people who were not in those MCU movies 15 years ago, but have gradually sort of built out that world. It's technically the last of the phase 5 of the MCU if you want to get really geeky about it, but it looks really fast and fun. It's basically like all these sort of anti-hero types who are caught in a trap and have to become the heroes, and it looks like it's got a real sort of fun, sort of sarcastic vibe to it, which frankly reminds me a bunch of Guardians of the Galaxy, which was also a Marvel refresh of a sort. So I think that'll be a really fun one for us. We've also got Superman coming up, so it'll be a rich summer for big swings with superhero franchises, and I think you can expect to see some fun programming around that as well.
Maria, the other big films that are opening are the Mission Impossible and F1 with Brad Pitt. F1 is interesting to me because it's also going to be on Apple, but I think it's going to premiere in theaters first, and it is an IMAX film. So there's no concern that people wait for things anymore. If they want to go and see it in a big screen, they're definitely going to come.
Absolutely. I think we've seen people come back once on their own, and then they come back with friends and family because they've been bragging about the experience on IMAX and the uniqueness that that brings. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to have. We're 50 miles of another experience, IMAX experience. So we're really thrilled to be able to give that to the audience on the East End, and we're seeing that it's well received. It's exciting for the folks that have walked in, and they keep talking about it, and people are coming back with friends. So I see it as a positive. Even if you stream it, you're going to want to experience it on the big screen. That's what I'm noticing.
How do you guys feel about the shortening window though between what happens in a theater and then how quickly it comes to our television sets? If something like let's spitball here for a second. If something like Mission Impossible is doing so well in theaters or in your theater even, do you have the ability to hold them over and keep them longer?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's still the theatrical model. I mean, Black Bag, as we speak, has been doing great business for
Right.
us. By the time that your story runs in May, we'll probably have some other good examples. But yeah, I mean, it's
Black Bag
always
is an example of something that's like an adult movie, like
yes.
a really good, intelligent, who done it, why done it kind of a thing that they don't do much anymore because so much of what is made in Hollywood now caters to very young people. Do you think that pendulum's going to swing back and we're going to see a lot more of that kind of thing?
Well, I think it's constantly swinging back and forth. There's a lot of uncertainty in the industry about what kinds of stories resonate. So anytime there's like a perception of a trend, something else happens that surprises people. So it's hard to say like, yes, this is definitely going to happen. I think that, we're seeing stories being told in so many different ways. Some are better built for different kinds of platforms. The theatrical window used to be a very like sacred thing, and these days we're seeing more flexibility, which benefits both sides of the equation if you play your cards right. In our case, because we're an independent theater, we can be very flexible in terms of what we show and when, and I think that's a really wonderful asset because audiences will surprise you, and you really don't know what might have legs until you put it on your screen. So I think from like the theatrical windows question is a really smart one to ask because that's something that people are constantly talking about. And, at the end of the day, the theatrical experience is such a unique thing that you don't get at home, and it benefits movies in so many different ways that it doesn't even matter if you can watch it at home if the theatrical presentation is superior. People
Well,
leave
I
that.
have to say,
Yeah, go ahead, Marie.
I'm reminding you as you say this about the wonderful and unique experience we had with Honora. It
Yeah,
was it won its award, and it was on streaming services, and people came back to watch it on the big
yeah,
screen when you set aside the time for it. So there's a proof of product right there, Bill. People
Yeah.
had the opportunity to screen it, and they walked into the theater even knowing that it had won. They wanted that theater experience. They wanted that you know that visual pleasure that that movie brings, and that's a great example of your question. So,
yeah, and
proof is
it's the
there.
same thing for our rep series as well, right? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's we're living in a golden age for repertory film at home in the sense that people can access so many films, but it's almost overwhelming, right? And not only is it overwhelming, in a lot of cases, the quality is going to be terrible. So why not make the effort to trust the curator in town and go see a movie with the best presentation possible? That seems to be what a lot of people are preferring to do these days.
Eric, is Brad Pitt going to die in F1?
If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't tell you. But I am hoping that he continues to enjoy a very successful career.
I'm dreading the headline that says pit stop, but but
You had that ready.
let me kind of put you on the spot here too, because Amy Pascal is now running the James Bond franchise. the James Bond franchise is huge to theaters. What can they do? What can Amazon do, short of making Jeff Bezos maybe the villain, Bezosfeld or something like that? What do they have to do to make James Bond fresh, do you think?
I don't think James Bond stopped being fresh. So it's not even a question of what do they have to do. It's more like, is the formula for what made James Bond work so well over the years, is that still going to remain relevant to moviegoers? And we haven't seen a reason to think otherwise. So I don't have any advice for Amazon. I will say that whatever you think about the streaming universe, Amazon has shown an investment in getting movies into theaters, and I hope that continues.
We all do. That's Eric Cohn. He's the artistic director, and Maria Ruiz Batsakas is the executive director. Hey, thanks for listening. May we leave you with a little music? Thanks, Jim. We had Dr. Love on the show today.
He's in the zone.
Ah, for Bill McCaffrey and Gianna Vulpi, I say hello.
Hey, there's a song about us.
I'm
Bill
going to
McCaffrey.
LTV. I'm going to get on the screen. I'm coming back, and I really don't mean it.
That was one of my childhood crushes. Johnny McCaffrey.
Who's Johnny McCaffrey?
I don't know. He's a guy.
Let's get Dr. Love back in.
I know.